My wife doesn't do any housework at all. She's like a parasite. This happened at a barbecue party hosted by Sean's workplace. As his wife, I attended, and Sean repeatedly made disparaging remarks about me. He would say how useless I was, and how he envied other men's wives. Hearing his words, I felt the piercing, cold stares of his work colleagues. Those looks deeply wounded my heart, and it was incredibly painful. But today is not the same as I was before. I am not someone who just stays silent. However, with determination, I reveal the truth about Sean, the murmuring of his colleagues and the bewildered female coworker. But the person who got most shocked of all was the company president. My name is Helen. I'm 32 years old. I currently work at a variety store. Ever since graduating from university, I've worked for the same company, and I wanted to continue working there for a long time. But due to interpersonal relationships within the team, I accumulated stress and eventually had to quit. I was fond of the work, but stress from other sources became unbearable. So after 3 years, I submitted my resignation before I completely burned out mentally and physically. Afterward, I worked at various supermarkets and bookstores, but finally settled at the current variety store. Since I started working at the variety store, my life began to improve. As someone who has always enjoyed collecting knickknacks, working at the variety store was like a dream come true. Of all the workplaces I've experienced, this one has the best relationships, and I work happily every day. A few months after fitting in at work and enriching my private life, I faced a problem. It was the reality of being single, without a boyfriend. All around me, friends were getting married or had partners. Watching them, I felt it was time to seriously consider marriage. However, there were no men at my workplace, and being someone with indoor hobbies, I had no opportunities to meet someone. I envied the couples I saw walking around, wishing to meet a wonderful man and live happily ever after. Then one day, a moment came that changed my fate. As usual, I was working at the store when a friend visited as a customer. Since the store was quiet, we got carried away chatting, and soon enough, we were talking about romance. I confessed that I had no romantic prospects, and my friend offered to set up a mixer for me. Though she herself seemed uninterested in marriage, she wanted to help me out. At the mixer my friend organized, I met a very attractive man named Sean. We decided to get married after dating for a while. Sean worked for a top company, stable both financially and emotionally. He was always kind to me, prioritizing me even during our dating. Maybe this is what happiness is. I felt that more and more as he proposed to me. The joy of that moment was indescribable. As a housewife, I dedicated myself to household chores to ensure Sean could relax at home. I cooked his favorite foods and kept the house clean. Hey, this is my favorite, isn't it? Did you make it? Yeah, eat as much as you like. His smile was the source of my life. Sean would spend all his time with me on holidays, actively helping with housework. I felt blessed beyond measure. Days of worrying about never being able to marry now seemed like a distant memory. However, a few months after marrying Sean, our life began to gradually take a troubling turn. The initial happiness faded, and Sean became cold towards me. Worse yet, his attitude grew increasingly turbulent, leaving me confused about how to cope. Sean, what time will you be home today? No, I don't know. The once informative replies about his return time became vague, and I felt brushed off. Even when I asked about dinner requests, he said I don't need dinner at night. All I could do was wonder if he was tired or overwhelmed with work. I understood busy days. I had them too when I was a full-time employee, but Sean works for a renowned corporation. His business might be incomparable to anything I've known. I'd send him off every morning with a take care, but it seemed to become a nuisance to him. When did he start showing disinterest in my cooking, or stop taking the lunch I prepared? Sighing, I'd look through the recipe books I collected, wanting to make delicious meals for Sean. Just looking at those books filled me with loneliness. I tormented myself wondering when we could share the same moments again. Yet, no matter how much I pondered, Sean's attitude remained unchanged. It only got worse day by day. For instance, if he saw a slight disarray in the shoes at the closet, he'd criticize, "Can't you even line up the shoes properly?" And if he happened to eat a meal I prepared after a long time, he'd mock, "I can't believe you'd serve something like this." He even said, "I'd rather eat a ready meal than your cooking." My shock and disappointment were profound. He used to eat a lot, praising it as delicious, asking for seconds. Was all his praise for my home cooking a lie? The more I fought, the more I questioned Sean's past behavior. Then, unexpectedly, Sean spoke to me. "Hey, what?" Just his initiating conversation made my heart leap. "We're having dinner with my mom and dad in a week. It's a fancy restaurant, so please dress appropriately." "I'm invited?" I told you. I hadn't met my in-laws since our marriage. We didn't have a formal wedding, so it had been since the marriage greeting. Both my father-in-law and mother-in-law are warm people. The kind Sean of the past resembled his parents. A dinner with my in-laws was unexpected. I took extra care with skincare and hair, and even bought a suitable outfit for the restaurant. Now I'm perfectly prepared. I eagerly await the day to reunite with my in-laws. However, when I actually met my in-laws face to face, they were very different from what I knew about them. They openly showed their displeasure when talking to me. I pondered over the reason for this until it became clear from my mother-in-law's words. Helen, I heard that you're always slacking off on household duties and lazing around at home. Is that true? Yeah, I've heard that as well. Becoming a full-time housewife is fine, but neglecting cooking and cleaning duties is not. I didn't expect this from you, Helen. My father-in-law continued in the same vein. There must be some misunderstanding here, or rather, it seems that Sean has been giving them incorrect information. No, that's not true at all, I protested, but Sean cut me off with a scolding tone. Come on, lying isn't good. You're just lazing around, aren't you? I couldn't understand why they would have such a perception of me. My mother-in-law went on. I was a full-time housewife too, but I worked hard every day on household chores for my working husband. Don't you have any gratitude towards Sean? No, I don't think that's the case. Hey, stop being noisy. Sean interrupted me again as I tried to speak. Only Sean could speak to my in-laws about me. It seems he had indeed intentionally conveyed wrong information. I was deeply hurt by this betrayal-like act. In the end, my words never reached my in-laws. To someone who doesn't know me well, if they hear she's a full-time housewife but neglects her household duties, I might appear as a woman who married a man with a high income just for the money. The thought gave me goosebumps. After the dinner, I confronted Sean about why he lied to his parents. Why did you lie? I've been working hard cleaning every day. What are you dissatisfied with? I asked, but Sean didn't respond. Are you listening? Be quiet. That was all Sean said, and the atmosphere around us fell silent again. I was at a loss about how to clear up the misunderstanding with my in-laws. More urgently, I wanted to know why Sean's attitude had changed so suddenly. If my behavior was displeasing to him, I wished he would clearly say so. If not, some explanation was needed. I felt full of anxiety towards Sean, who avoided conversation. Even after that, Sean's attitude towards me continued to worsen. He complained about the food I cooked, made a fuss about a single strand of hair found as if I never cleaned, and if I lay down on the sofa to relax for a moment, he would yell at me for being lazy. Furthermore, Sean's return home became visibly later, and it wasn't unusual for him to come back at midnight. It even became more frequent for him not to come home at all. Yet, I couldn't argue with him. He was the only marriage partner I had finally found. Although he was cold to me now, I believed that one day he would return to the kind person he used to be. Above all, if I divorced, I feared I might never be able to marry again. I could end up spending my life alone. The thought made me tremble uncontrollably. That's why I didn't have the courage to leave my husband Sean. In fact, around the time Sean started coming home at dawn, I had noticed something odd. It was the scent of a woman's perfume on his suit, one I didn't recognize. Furthermore, I could faintly detect the smell of cosmetics. Upon closer inspection of his suit, I even found traces of red lipstick. Seeing this, I began to suspect that he was having an affair. To tell the truth, I had already been suspicious of the possibility of an affair since the time when his overnight stays and nights without coming home, under the pretense of work, became more frequent. Frequent early morning returning home, increasing not staying home. Although I understood Sean was busy, the change was too abrupt, and I couldn't help but doubt. Confronted with the actual evidence of cheating, anger welled up inside me. The days he didn't return home, he was probably spending at his mistress's place. I didn't want to lose Sean. I truly wished for that, but if he really was cheating, that was a different matter. I decided to confront him about the truth. Hey, I need to talk to you, I said to him, who was unusually at home on a weekend. It's really important, I continued, but Sean was engrossed in the TV, ignoring my words. Are you listening? I raised my voice. What is it? He finally reacted, clearly finding my anger bothersome. Are you cheating? I asked. What? What are you talking about all of a sudden? Your jacket has lipstick on it. There's also the smell of women's perfume and fabric softener that is not from our house. So all the times you said you were working were lies. Lipstick? I have no idea what you're talking about, Sean replied with a condescending attitude. I decided to keep pressing him until he admitted it. You're having an affair, aren't you? Tell me the truth. What does it matter to you if I had an affair? Sean said it as if it had nothing to do with him. No matter how seriously I questioned him, he just sneered. I couldn't hide my irritation. Hey, answer me seriously. I've had enough, but my feelings didn't reach Sean. You're annoying, so persistent. I have my circumstances. You live off the money I earn, so just listen to what I say. With that, he spat out and left the house. This exchange made the facts clear. Sean's heart was already away from me. Once I understood that, my feelings for Sean cooled rapidly. Why had I clung to him so much? Continuing a married life with such an awful man would only wear down my spirit. Emotionally stirred, I made a call to take action. 2 months later, I was attending a barbecue event organized by Sean's workplace. His company had invited employees' families, and Sean, having heard that other employees were bringing their families, invited me, albeit reluctantly. He had also invited his parents, and when I arrived, they were already preparing the meat. Sean, I've been waiting. Oh, you came too, Helen. No, she was the one who wanted to come and was noisy about it, Sean replied, causing his parents to glare at me. As the barbecue began, many people, regardless of whether they were superiors or subordinates, gathered around Sean. At home, he acts so differently, but outside, he behaves like we're close friends. I was angry at that gap. Sean was speaking ill of me even at the barbecue, which was supposed to be fun. She's really useless, you know. I'm sure he speaks ill of me at work too. None of the other employees stopped him, and they all looked at me coldly. People continued to gather around Sean, and it seemed the president was among them. Sean, this is your wife. The one people are talking about? Well, yeah, sort of. Sean, you have it tough, don't you? The president, with me right there, made remarks condemning me. My wife doesn't do any housework at all. She's like a parasite. Not only did Sean accept the president's words, but he also added things that weren't true. Normally, I would just stay silent, but today was different. Excuse me, our house is always clean. Maybe you don't see it because you're skiving off sales visits to play at the president's daughter's house? What? At my words and Sean's reaction, the other employees and our in-laws started murmuring. The president seemed surprised, too. His eyes widely opened. What are you talking about? Sean said in a flustered voice. With Sean in disarray, I spread out photos and documents on the nearby table. Seeing this, Sean panicked even more. No wonder, for the photos I spread out were decisive evidence of his infidelity. About 2 months before the day Sean and I had an argument, I had hired a detective agency to gather evidence of his infidelity. I was determined to expose his affair, but feeling the limit of what I could do alone, I decided to enlist the services of a detective agency. Soon after the contract, various pieces of evidence began to surface. There were photos of Sean walking arm in arm with a woman I didn't know, entering a vacation hotel with her, and going into a luxurious flat that seemed to be her home. These were more than enough as evidence. According to the detective agency, this woman was the president's daughter, and what's more, the daughter of the president of the company Sean worked for. While it was unclear how the two met, Sean frequently visited her house, and they seemed to be quite close. The detective suggested that they hadn't just met recently. Hearing this, I couldn't help but mutter, I can't believe it. The shock of seeing a suit with lipstick on it was big, but the shock of actually seeing photos of my husband being intimate with an unknown woman was even greater. Further investigation is possible. However, his patterns of behavior are always the same, so it's unlikely we'll find more information. I understood. Hearing that response, I decided to stop the investigation. That would be enough, thank you. If Sean was having an affair, my next course of action was clear. Divorce was the only option. I couldn't live under the same roof as him anymore. In my heart, there was nothing left but anger. By this time, I had already heard from Sean about the barbecue event. Given his behavior, I was certain that he was spreading rumors about me at the company. I decided to use the barbecue as an opportunity to expose his deceit. I wasn't sure if it would work, and I didn't have solid evidence of what Sean was actually saying about me at work. But reality unfolded just as I had imagined. Hey, Helen, why do you have these photos? And what's this about me and the president's daughter? What? You're still trying to lie in this situation? There's evidence, and your person is clear. I glared at the flustered Sean to silence him, and then I turned to the president. President, this woman in the photo is your daughter, right? I would like you to confirm that. The president took the photo, hesitated as he looked at the woman in it, and then muttered in a low voice. That's my daughter, definitely. Sean, where did you meet my daughter? Well, you see. Answer me. The barbecue, which had been friendly just minutes before, was now tense because of my revelation. Well, as usual, Sean was trying to weasel his way out of the situation. Can't you speak? Eventually unable to withstand the president's pressure, Sean began to talk about how he met the president's daughter. Sean said he first met the president's daughter in the company parking lot. She had come to the company on some errand, and he happened to see her and struck up a conversation. The president's daughter knew of Sean, who thought highly of his talent within the company, even though she knew he was married. She was flattered when he approached her and followed him. In the end, she did not cut off her relationship with Sean. Hearing this, I resolved to demand some kind of money without mercy for having suffered mentally, even though she was the president's daughter. Sean was completely crestfallen. I apologize. The daughter has her share of the blame for not refusing, But this situation would not have happened if you hadn't approached her. We'll discuss more later. When you come to work tomorrow morning, just come to my office first. This is Turnbull. Sean turned to me for help. Helen, could you forgive me? This will affect my job. Please. Huh? Think about what you've done up until now. Do you think I can just say I forgive you after all that? You've been lying about me, to the company and to your parents. My wife is sloppy and incompetent. She doesn't do anything, right? Hearing this, my mother-in-law couldn't help but raise her voice. Helen, is everything Sean has been saying all lies? What have you been told? We've heard you were lazy and did nothing but laze around every day. That's not true. I have done the cleaning every day and cooked the meals. Sean just complained about everything. Until now. You might not have believed my words, but in this situation, not a single person supported Sean. I'm sorry, Helen. I took my son's word for it. I need to apologize to you. Starting with my in-laws bowing their heads in apology, the president and other employees followed one after another with words of apology. I accepted their apologies temporarily, as if to reconcile. I could not fully forgive them on the spot. Their behavior, which insulted me, was not something I could easily condone. However, Sean is the root cause of this situation. My anger was directed solely at him. I've already asked a lawyer. Let's get a divorce. What? A divorce? Why? Why? Do I need more of reason to get a divorce? Anyway, I'm getting a divorce. Sean was disheartened. His face turned pale, but no one sympathized with him. The next day, Sean and I headed to the lawyer's office together. The president's daughter was there, accompanied by the president, and all the parties involved gathered at the office. Now we could have a calm discussion. When the time came and everything was ready, the lawyer quietly proceeded with the talk. Sean was dismayed, and the president's daughter had an expression of shock. Mom, what is this? These are photos taken by a detective agency I hired. Why would you? Because I suspected he was cheating. The smell of perfume on his suit, and even lipstick marks. How could I not suspect? The president, listening to the conversation, nodded next to his daughter. Helen wants a divorce and the division of assets from Sean, and compensation from you for mental distress. At the lawyer's explanation, the president's daughter looked up sharply. Compensation? I've done nothing wrong. I was just approached. Nothing wrong? The president promptly reproached her. You knew he was married, right? What does it mean to just go along when approached? Her exact age was unclear, but it was a rather childish argument. She seemed unable to admit her fault, twisting her face in denial. Sean had muttered, divorce, demands for division of assets. Sean, isn't it about time you realize your situation? If you were truly remorseful, such words wouldn't come out. The president admonished Sean, but he just rounded his back and hung his head in silence. This is my last wish as a wife. Please get me a divorce. But Sean couldn't make a decision, and I felt irritated with him. I strongly desired a divorce and was considering going to court if necessary, saying, if you keep dragging this out, we'll end up in court. Surprised by the word court, Sean finally agreed to the divorce. It seems the president's daughter also felt that escape was impossible, and with a sense of resignation, she agreed to the payment of the settlement. She sought help from her father, the president, but he firmly dismissed her, saying, I can't just give you money. You must take responsibility for what you have done. Afterwards, my divorce from Sean was finalized without issue, and I received a lump sum settlement from both him and the president's daughter. With that money, I moved into a new apartment and started a new life. After the divorce, I had the opportunity to receive a formal apology from Sean's parents and the president. Sean's parents updated me on his current situation. It seems Sean has been fired from the company. The president's anger towards Sean for his inappropriate relationship with his daughter was certainly a contributing factor. However, the official reason for his dismissal was poor conduct, and it appears that the president's daughter was forced to break it off. It's more accurate to say she wanted nothing more to do with Sean. As a result, Sean has lost everything. His family, his lover, and his job. If I hadn't revealed the truth that day, he might have continued his affair. His attitude towards me would have been getting worse by the day, and false rumors about me would have been spreading. The thought of what might have happened if I had continued the marriage really horrifies me. And now that I've moved into a new place, I'm living a comfortable life. It's a life where I can focus on myself without having to consider anyone else. Sometimes I think I should have brought up divorce earlier, but if it hadn't been for that revealing incident, he would never have agreed to it. In the end, I believe that waiting for the right time to announce the divorce was the best course of action. Currently, I'm working at a local variety store, surrounded by the stuff I love, and I am satisfied with my life. From now on, I've resolved to live a life unswayed by anyone else.